Their identity would be considered at a 7-day convention held in Columbus, Ohio in 1931. Attendees received programs with the puzzling letters JW on the cover. Speaking on Isaiah 43:10, J.F. Rutherford presented a resolution.
We have great love for Brother Charles T. Russell, and we gladly acknowledge that the Lord used him and greatly blessed his work. Yet we cannot consent to be called by the name Russellites. The Watchtower Bible and Tract Society and the International Bible Students Association are merely names of corporations. We are servants of Jehovah God, commissioned to do a work in His name. Henceforth, may it be known that we are Jehovah's Witnesses.
More than 8 million people today proudly bear the name Jehovah's Witnesses. They believe this name connects them directly to the Creator of the universe, the name above all names, finally restored after centuries of neglect.
The eternal name of God has to be revealed. It cannot no longer be hidden. It should be shown to everyone who wants to worship Jehovah.
This careful preservation supports what Jesus said in prayer at John 17:26 when He said to His Father, "I have made your name known and will make it known." As Jehovah's Witnesses, we are proud to be a people for His name.
Knowing His name is essential to know Jehovah Himself.
But what if the name Jehovah didn't come from heaven? What if it rose instead from fire, smoke, and molten rock? Because you see, long before the word Jehovah appeared in English Bibles, the name behind it, Yahweh, was spoken in the deserts south of Israel. That region, Midian and Edom, is a land scarred by extinct volcanoes. And there, ancient texts say, the God of fire and cloud descended upon a mountain called Sinai. Let's read Exodus chapter 19, verse 18 from the New World Translation. And Mount Sinai smoked all over, due to the fact that Jehovah came down upon it in fire, and its smoke kept ascending like the smoke of a kiln, and the whole mountain was trembling very much. The New International Version says it like this: Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because the Lord descended on it in fire. The smoke billowed up from it like smoke from a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled violently. So the mountain smoked, it quaked, thunder rolled like a living voice, fire descended. What does that sound like to you? It was the vision of a volcano in eruption, the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night, as it says in Exodus chapter 13, verses 21 and 22, where we read, And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so that they might travel by day and by night. Because when you witness a volcanic eruption, you can see the smoke and ash during the day, but the smoke is hidden by the darkness of night, when you can only see the orange glow of fire and lava. And by the way, scholars note that Sinai takes its name from Sin, the Mesopotamian moon god. And the fiery deity who met Moses at Mount Sinai bears traits that once belonged to the southern storm gods of the desert, gods who rode on clouds, hurled lightning, and made the mountains quake. In the Bronze Age, these were the local powers of Edom, Midian, and Seir, where the earth itself rumbled with fire. Yahweh's earliest titles echo theirs. He comes in the storm. His voice is thunder. Smoke rises from his nostrils. These are phrases describing Jehovah plucked directly from the Bible. Jehovah was not yet the calm creator of heaven that Jehovah's Witnesses worship today, but the volatile God of heat, storm, and molten earth. a deity born in the roar of mountains. Across the Mediterranean, Rome's craftsmen prayed to Vulcan, the god of fire and the forge. Vulcan's Cretan predecessor was Velcanos, patron of creation through flame. The Latin word volcano still carries his name, and almost no one knows the true origin of the word. Back then, fire meant transformation, metal from stone, life from ash, spirit from matter. When thunder split the sky, the ancients heard not destruction, but divine generation, creation bursting forth from heat and pressure. It was the same voice Israel described as the thunder of Yahweh. For example, in Joel chapter 3, verse 16, we read, "The Lord thunders from Zion and utters his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth quake." Psalm 18, verse 13 reads, "The Lord thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice." Likewise, Revelation chapter 14, verse 2 says, "And I heard a voice from heaven, like the voice of many waters, and like the voice of loud thunder." Sounds like a rainstorm with thunder and lightning. The ancients associated these natural sounds with God's voice. In Hebrew poetry, thunder was koloth, the voice of God. Lightning was his arrow, the storm clouds his tent. Psalm 18 verse 8 says, "There went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it." When Moses climbed the mountain of flame, he met a God who spoke through smoke and thunder, who burned a bush yet did not consume it. When he returned, his face shone, the glow of one who had stood before intense fire. Over centuries, the fiery God of the southern mountains became the moral God of Israel's scriptures. The smoke was called glory, the eruption became presence, and the volcano God became the almighty creator. But traces remain. The voice of God is still described as thunderous. Fire is always compared to purification. So here's the irony. Jehovah's Witnesses pride themselves on precision, on restoring the divine name forgotten by Christendom. Yet few realize that the earliest worshipers of Yahweh look not to the heavens, but to a mountain that burned. When they speak the name Jehovah, they call on a God whose first temple may have been a volcano. So think about that for a moment. An entire faith movement, 8 million strong, defined by the conviction that they alone have restored the true name of God, that Jehovah is sacred because it's original, untainted, pure. Yet the name they hold above all others may trace its roots not to the throne of heaven, but to the trembling earth below, to fire, to ash, to the breath of a volcano god once worshipped in the deserts of Midian. And here's the greatest irony of all. Jehovah's Witnesses are relentless in separating themselves from what they call pagan influence. They reject holidays, symbols, and creeds as impure echoes of ancient religions.
Apostate religious leaders obscured the light even further. A counterfeit form of Christianity would flourish. So-called Christian churches deviated from Christ's teachings.
But they've built their entire identity around the oldest pagan image of them all, the mountain of fire that roared, smoked, and spoke with thunder. The name Jehovah is not the sound of eternity breaking through human language. It's the echo of lava cooling into stone. It's the memory of mankind's first awe before the voice in the fire. So when they preach the name from door to door, convinced they've purified worship, they're unknowingly calling back to that ancient mountain where men once trembled before a God of smoke and flame, a God who, long before he became the Almighty of heaven, was the living fire of the earth itself.